I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Lexington County School District 3 Board of Trustees regular monthly meeting. It's Tuesday, October the 11th, 2022, and we're at the Lexington School District 3 District Office. Let the meeting minutes show that all board members are present with the exception of Dr. Gunner, who is joining us via teleconference. Dr. Gunner, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Very good. We'll move on to Section 1.2, our Pledge of Allegiance by Ms. Maddie Hendricks, Connor Reichard, and Elizabeth Velasquez.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up will be our prayer by Connor Reichard. Bow our heads.
Dear God, please keep us safe during this school year. Give our teachers the strength to lead us and provide us knowledge. Bless our Panther family. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Y'all did a great job. Takes us to Section 1.4, approval of our agenda. Fellow board members, you have had a chance to look at the agenda and review it. Without any exception, we will approve it as presented. Hearing none, we approve the agenda as presented. Next is Section 1.5, approval of meeting minutes for September the 13th, 2022 regular board meeting. Once again, you've had a chance to look over those, and without any objection, we will approve those as presented. Hearing no objection, those meeting minutes are approved as presented. Takes us to Section 2.0, our consent items. First up is our financial report by Ms. Angela Roden.
Hello, good evening. You've all received your information in your packet. We'll begin with the cash analysis for September. The item of note here is the ESER 2. I told you I claim those quarterly typically, but when there's a large payment, this almost $300,000 payment we made on the gym roof, the old gym roof that we're repairing, I go ahead and claim it right away. So we have those funds available again. That's our mainly item of note for this month. Do you have any specific questions about the reports that you received?
It's not just a question, I guess it's an observation. I was just looking at the interest.
I'm sorry?
The interest amount.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that just indicative of?
That's where we're running right now. We have all the money, the schools' accounts as well. Mm-hmm. So that's the interest, which we've also taken over paying all the banking fees for everyone as well. But all of our money's with the local investment pool, mm-hmm. and the state treasurer invests all that, and they've got a lot of more municipalities and things to join, so we're getting even better rates than typical, than usual right now.
I just looked, and we're over here on the percent available, it was minus 191, I thought. Oh yeah, I'm ahead.
Yeah, okay. No, okay.
On the report by function.
Okay. But we're good. Anything else?
Thank you, Ms. Roden.
Thank you.
Takes us to Section 2.2, our superintendent's report by Dr. Atkinson.
Thank you. Several weeks ago, the administration of the high school and our staff completed an application for Palmetto's Finest. And Palmetto's Finest is sponsored by SCAS and South Carolina Association of School Administrators in preparation or competition for Palmetto's Finest. Well, last week they were notified that they had been named a semifinalist for the Palmetto's Finest in the secondary division. If you remember back in 2020, the high school was named a finalist for Palmetto's Finest. So we're very proud of our high school, and they've got a lot of work to do between now and October 17th, which is the start of the window for the visiting team to come in and evaluate and take a look to see if we make it to the next round of semifinalists. So we'll have to be on our toes and ready between October 17th and October 28th for a second visit in preparation for what I predict to be our semifinals, our finalist round. So again, we're proud of the work that they're doing at the high school. Over the last few weeks, our district was one of 15 districts in South Carolina to be selected to participate in what was being referred to as a Summer Learning Network. This is sponsored from the South Carolina Department of Education Office of Emergency Programs, and this is a grant of $225,000 for us to be able to enhance our summer learning opportunities and programs for the following summer, and it actually will last into September 30th of 2024. I'd like to thank all of our staff for being able to plan and carry out a successful e-learning day on Friday, September the 30th. We had to prepare this and get this ready in pretty short notice. But I also want to do a shout out for our food service department. As we realized that we were going to be doing e-learning on that Friday, they quickly went into preparation mode to make sure that we could send meals home on Thursday. So our food service staff were able to prepare a breakfast and a lunch for students to take home with them on Thursday. Now, as we were, you realize that we are part of the community eligibility program where all of our students eat free. As we contacted the State Department of Education, they could not tell us or verify that we would be reimbursed for these meals, but we did the right thing, our food service, and went ahead and prepared these meals regardless of whether they were going to reimburse the meals or not, because we wanted our children to be able to eat those meals that day. Well, recently we have found that we will be reimbursed, but that's beside the point. I want to make sure you know that our staff went to the effort to do this regardless of the outcome. The food truck was late, and so our cafeteria workers really had to scramble to get those meals prepared and ready to go out with the students on Thursday. I will say that Todd Beatonbow mailed a letter to Joe Wilson and Lindsey Graham asking for the waiver to be able to reimburse, and I guess it's a good thing that Joe Wilson visited the Lifelong Learning Center a few weeks ago, so they were instrumental both with getting this approved for the reimbursement. Still on the food service line of thought, we also received $82,413.18 from the State Department of Education to mitigate the increased cost of the disruption to the supply chain. So we've had to change our meals and our food service as far as what we're offering, and that lots of times translated into higher cost. So we received some additional money, the $82,000, to offset those additional costs. We had a wonderful time on October the 6th for our Teacher of the Year banquet. I'd like to thank Mackenzie Taylor for all the work that she did in decorating, ordering the food, making sure that we had all the prizes from our community members to be able to present. We had some exceptional finalists: Chelsea Sheely from the primary school, Meredith Green from the elementary, Jacob Ross from the middle, and Donnell Hartley from the high school. And as we already
911 system. Which Hero 911 is a group of voluntary system where officers across the country sign up for this. If they get the call, they can respond here. So there's over 60,000 officers that have signed up so far on their phones. So within our 25-mile radius, we would have roughly 300 officers available if we needed them. So it's good to have the calibers if we need them. Hopefully we never need this app, but we want to be prepared if we have it. The goal of the system is to increase the response force and to reduce the response time of law enforcement officers at the scene of an armed intrusion for active shooter by utilizing the threat of the Hero 911 network. One of the main reasons why we selected Guard 911 is it's the only panic button app in the country that was federally approved app that connects to Hero 911, and we are the first school system in the state to implement Guard 911. Officers within the specified region, as I said earlier, in the vicinity will respond. Those federal, state, local, anyone in our area can come to that. So we're excited if we need them that this will bring them. So the video's about 6 minutes. I hope I didn't bring popcorn, and I apologize for that, but if y'all will take a few minutes, Mr. Stevens is going to hit the button, and we'd like for y'all to watch this. It does a whole lot better job than I can.
The smartphone app that places a panic button in the hands of all approved staff members for when seconds save lives. The following tutorial will show you the ease of reporting a non-life-threatening intra-property incident and a life-threatening armed intruder or active shooting emergency. Also, we will illustrate the use of the other daily features the app offers. For illustration purposes, we will use the School Guard app, but please know the Guard 911 and Campus Guard 911 apps work the same way. To begin, use your compatible smartphone and/or iPad and go to your respective app store to download the appropriate app assigned to your property. After it successfully downloads and installs, enter the unique one-time only activation code and username provided by your site administrator or gatekeeper listed on the instruction sheet you received. After you enter your activation code and accept the terms of use, your School Guard app is now live. Please note the app only works while on or nearby school property, but you should always safeguard your phone to help prevent inadvertent activations like any alert or 911 calling system. Please read all the helpful hints on the instruction sheet and safely discard it once you are finished. It is recommended you place the School Guard icon on the main page so it is easily located in an emergency. It is also recommended that you turn your phone's passcode feature on to prevent students or others from accessing your device and triggering a false alarm. Let's start on the main screen of the School Guard app. You will notice 3 key red buttons and 3 smaller white buttons at the bottom. The main feature of School Guard is the large red button shaped like a shield in the center of your screen. This is the Report Armed Intruder Panic button for life-threatening emergencies and should only be used in this case. Once pressed, you will need to slide it on to the right and press yes to confirm this is a true emergency. Once activated, this button will do 4 things simultaneously. First, it will speed dial 911. When answered, you can speak with the 911 operator and report the armed intruder or active shooting emergency. While waiting to speak with the 911 operator to report the emergency, the app alerts all other School Guard users at your location, and pending adequate cell phone or data signal, it will also provide them with a map location of the initial alert for situational awareness. The School Guard app will also alert all other Guard 911 protected properties within a 5-mile radius. Most importantly, the app will alert all law enforcement officers on and off duty from all jurisdictions who are in close proximity to your location for an expedited notification and subsequent response. Next, let's take a look at the red 911 only button at the bottom left. This button simply speed dials 911 and can be used in non-active shooting emergencies. Once pressed, you'll be prompted yes or no to prevent any inadvertent activations. If you're using an iPad, there will not be a 911 button displayed, since there is no cellular phone access on these devices. Now, look at the right side of your smartphone screen. You'll see the Teacher Assist button.
Assistance requested. Assistance requested.
You would use this button in situations such as a fight or incident where you are needing assistance from other school staff members. Once pressed, you will be prompted yes or no. This button sends out an assistance requested audible alert to all other school guard users tied to your school. This feature will not alert other protected locations nor the police. After the request for assistance is sent, the box will appear for you to type in an optional message, such as fight in gym or send nurse to room 100. Unlimited messages can be typed and sent as the situation unfolds. Pending an adequate cell phone or data signal, the recipients of the Teacher Assist will see your name in the alert, as well as a map location of where the alert was sent. Next, we will review the 3 white buttons at the bottom of your screen. These features are the Principal Push, Response Plan, and View Alert buttons. The View Alert button only displays during an emergency activation. If your administration has given you access to the Principal Push feature, this button will appear on your app. When used, a blast text message box appears for you to type a message. This message will go to all school guard users associated with your protected property. Even if you do not have this feature and able to send messages, you will still receive messages sent by your school administration via the Principal Push feature. Now, look at the Response Plan button. If your school has uploaded any response plans, they can be found under this button for your reference. If not, there is a default plan coded within. Lastly, during an active alert, you will see the View Alert button. This will allow you to toggle back and forth between the map and the main page of the app during the alert period. As a reminder, please make sure to save your phone at all times, like any personal property. The phones and iPads must be left with the volume on and turned up in order to receive the audible alerts. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for using School Guard.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen. Actually, today,
90-second trick to instantly reduce your winter.
and this was if you wanted to do flowers, but we'll do that another time. We actually, the high school actually used the 911 app today, so thank you, being in high school, for using the app. We had a medical emergency, and they used the app, so we know it works, so I want to thank them. I hate we have to use it, but we know it's there if we need it, so. I want to also just take a minute to thank our SROs for our schools. I have worked in some other school systems, and we truly have the best SROs, and it's in correlation with our police department and our partnership with them. So they do a great job. They're walking our schools, checking for doors to make sure they're locked. They're interacting with our students and providing a positive role model for all of them and positive mentoring. So I'm really proud of the job they're doing in our schools. So again, I want to thank everyone. If there are any questions before Chief Amick comes up, I'll be glad to answer any questions that I may know. Thank you. Chief Amick, will you come up and say a few words? And again, thank you for your partnership.
Mr. Chair, board members, and superintendent, you're right, I still haven't unpacked yet. But it'll be there when I get there tomorrow. I want to thank you for having me tonight. It's been a pleasure, even though the FBI was called first. It's been a pleasure to work with you guys. I look forward to meeting all of you. I already met some of you. I had one alarming thing about this software when I started looking at it, which was, why is no one else using it? So I was able to get in touch with the owner or one of the owners of the company. He gave me some names of some people I ended up knowing across the nation to to where other agencies and other states are using this. It still alarms me to this day that there's, not that I'm a first in the state kind of guy, but I am excited about having it. We have a great group of SROs, and I'm a little biased, you could probably imagine. But coming from other agencies and recently at the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy and teaching there, there's a lot of agencies that are really, really short, sometimes double digits of SROs. We have great SROs. We have great faculty that is working with these SROs. This program, this software, if you will, is going to enhance that. A lot of active shooter teaching that I was doing at the academy statewide is still an alarming thing. It's something that's like car insurance. You don't want to use it, but when it happens, you want to be prepared for it. This will help us, is going to help us prepare for it. The only other thing that I think about in reference to having this software is that number that he gave. So when it goes off, we're going to have quite a lot of law enforcement coming to us. The problem with that is where we're going to put them all, because usually by the time they get there, it's going to be over with. But I'm glad we got a whole bunch of them coming to us, because I'd rather have too many than not enough. I could talk about active shooter. One of the gentlemen earlier talked about, or one of the ladies talked about being passionate. I'm passionate about protecting our schools, and all of my kids are out of school now. But as part of being, I guess, the CEO of the company of the police department, we've got to prepare. We've got to keep preparing. I found out part of the alarming part of why people haven't chosen this software is that when it came out prior, or this app, when this type of app started coming out, there was a really, really expensive one that a bunch of people and other entities within our state jumped on that. And it locked them into a 5-year contract that sometimes renewed without them knowing it. So that's a little sidebar of stuff I was looking into. This, compared to that, is truly inexpensive. But when you get into money and what it's going to cost to protect our faculty and our students, there really isn't too big of a price to pay. I am excited. I got it on my phone. I know SLED agents that were at my department earlier, last couple of weeks doing work for us there. They have it on their phones. Highway patrolmen have it on their phones. When that button is pushed, and he didn't say, I think there was a couple accidental pushings, if you will. 19 since inception. I don't want an accidental, but I'd rather have that than have it on, not have it on the phone, or have the app on the phone to where a teacher or faculty member couldn't get to it. So I am one of those guys that can talk all night. Y'all give me that look like y'all had enough, but I am passionate about this. I am passionate about protecting the school. We just went over some things yesterday, and we can't over-prepare for something like this. It is one of those things I hope it never, ever happens in the state, or the rest of the nation for that matter, but it is. And you got to be ready. You got to have that plan in place. And I believe, and I know through the police department with the right people in the right places, doing the right things at the right time, we're going to be prepared for it. But again, I hope it never happens. So it's been a pleasure working with all the faculty that I've already worked with. I look forward to a continued work together atmosphere. And you guys, any questions you have for me, I know some of you already have my number. Here's my personal cell phone number. I would go ahead and say on the record, don't call the town one, because I can't carry 2 phones, so I got one forwarded to the other. So if you have any questions about this or anything in reference to school safety, the one thing he didn't bring up is towards some of these breaks that we're going to have, we are going to bring in some tactical teams just for orientation of our schools, not just the inside and the hallways and things like that, but also the outside and where they can park and where they can be safe places, not so safe places, this, that, and the other. And even though we're short at the police department, we're hiring people, and everyone there now and the ones that we're hiring are going to have to go through a very excitable, a very hands-on approach to an active shooter, because things have changed since the Columbine days to now. There's no longer any waiting and circling the wagons and negotiating. We're teaching officers across the state to go inside and eliminate the threat, period. And with this and the geofencing and everything that's involved in reference to really giving us a pretty good location of where the shooting may be taking place, that's going to help save lives also from the people that are going to address it. So again, anytime you need me, I do my normal 14, 15 hours a day, much to my wife's chagrin, but or she might like it, I don't know. But anyway, if you guys need me, please reach out to me. I'm easy to find, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Todd,
much.
can I ask you one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this anything that has brownie points that will help us with our Skisbig Insurance Trust, or anything to help with our premiums?
Well, it definitely will not hurt.
Okay.
It's something we will definitely work with them. I'm actually getting to attend a conference in 2 weeks, and I will follow up on that, because I'm excited about this system. Again, I hope we never need it, but, so that is something I will plan to follow up on. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Takes us to Section 5, our action items. First up is first reading approval of several policies. Ms. Rye, I believe, is going to cover all 4.
I am, and you have in your packet a copy of all of them, and I already know that there are a couple of typos on some of them that we found. You can have multiple eyes looking at these, and they still miss commas and ands and such. So we will start with IJ, Instructional Resources and Materials, and as noted in your cover letter, we are making these changes tonight because these are part of the legislative update that we get from the School Boards Association, and you know, regularly they encourage us to look at our policies and make updates. The policy IJ and IJL have not been updated since February of 1999, so it's been a while. And the current revision does include the recommendations from the School Boards Association Policy and Legislative Update. In policy IJ, you'll notice that we added the word media materials and software simply because in 1999 we were inundated with the media and software materials that we now have access to. In the parental inspection of certain materials paragraph, right underneath that, there's an extra sentence that is also at the end of that paragraph. So that's a typo that I wanted to point out to you that we'll take out, that should have had a strike through in it, but we literally copy and paste these from the recommendation document. And then in that next section, you'll see a lot of highlighted yellow. These are things, if it's highlighted yellow, it's obviously something that's new to the policy, and it's really mostly in regards to surveys. As you know, there are lots and lots of organizations and groups that want to survey our kids. They want to use our data. An example of one that's pretty well known is the Youth at Risk survey that's been done lots and lots of times over and over, where they collect data on at-risk behaviors that youth may demonstrate. The new language in this policy, though, gives parents the right to know about those types of surveys in advance and receive the option of not having their child participate. I will tell you that anything like that has to come through our office, and oftentimes they come to either myself or Mr. Potts, and we're pretty protective of our kids and of our instructional time. As you know, we assess a lot, and so if it's a survey that we don't feel like there will be benefit for us to participate, oftentimes we just tell folks no, just because our teachers are inundated and they don't have time for some of those kinds of things if it's not a requirement. But you can see that that is something that parents now have the option, if we do consent to a survey, to review the survey and opt their child out of it. There's some other language that was added, and this is language that was in the policy, but at the bottom of that second page, you'll see some additional highlighted information where parents have the right to inspect and approve of the use of protected information, any instruments used to collect personal information from students for marketing, sales, and other distribution purposes. Those are the kind of things we protect our kids from. If it's something that somebody's using for marketing and sales and there's not a benefit to the district, we try to keep that out of the classrooms. And then, of course, any instructional material that's used as part of the educational curriculum. Again, major changes in that policy are parents being able to receive that information in advance and opt out of their child participating. Do you want me to continue, Mr. Kaufman, and entertain all the questions at the end? Or
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll keep going then. Policy IJL is Library Media Center Material Selection and Adoption, and also this policy was not updated since February of 1999, and these are recommendations from the School Boards Association, but you may also remember that they convened a committee And Ms. Burgess, I know, probably remembers this back in the spring to look at this because this is an ongoing issue for many of our schools and districts, not only here in South Carolina, but across the nation. So a lot of the language in the beginning section is just new language. There's been a debate that goes back and forth about whether we call librarians or media specialists or school library media specialists. And so you'll see the update in this policy is that we're going back to calling them school librarians. Again, you will see the addition of electronic resources. And then the major changes include the addition of language for procedures for handling questioned or challenged Library Media Center materials. And I will point out that there is a typo on that second page in the numbered list that you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. After number 4 should have been the and then a period after number 5. So we'll correct that for your second reading. It's a minor typo, but it's something that we caught after it already had gone out to you. The major highlights there is the committee that it would convene to review those materials, and then that committee would report back to you, the school board, the decision that was made. And if those materials were deemed inappropriate by the committee, the materials would be removed for a period of no less than 5 years and could not be challenged again within that same period. Also, there was a recommendation for a form. This is very similar to what you have in some of the other policies that we have that are typically named as exhibits or forms. And so it would be a link that would be embedded within the policy that would just give anybody who wanted to have something reconsidered an option to fill that form out in order for that material to be looked at. That form comes straight from the policy recommendation, and it would be a new form. And then the last policy is policy Ihbea, Instructional Services for English Language Learners. And this is also a new policy. We've not had this policy before. It's in addition to our instructional policies to be in alignment with what we already do to provide services for English language learners. The highlights in here identify what we are to do if a student is deemed to be in need of possible services, and we determine that through the use of a home language survey as well as assessments that students take upon enrollment in our school district. And then once they are identified, of course, you know, they go into our EL program and they are served by one of our EL specialists. And we are required by the state, of course, to do a heavy amount of assessment and monitoring for those students in an attempt to make sure that they are growing adequately, as well as making progress towards English proficiency. And so the policy is in alignment with the practices that we already have. We just have not had the policy in the past. So I'd be happy to answer questions, or if there were other things that you found that you'd like to bring to my attention, I would be glad to hear them.
Any questions for Ms. Ryan?
I don't have a question, I have a clarification.
Okay.
On a request for clarification on policy IJL, Media Center Materials Selection and Adoption, under procedures for handling questioned or challenged Library Media Center materials.
Yes, ma'am.
And the first sentence says, any individual residing within the attendance area of the school district. And I'm not sure if the next word should be or and, who has a child who attends a school in the school district may lodge a complaint. I didn't know if it was required that they have a child in the school district or just that they live in the district.
This is the language that we lifted straight out of the recommended policy, and I know I've heard Mr. Smith say to you all before that this is the recommendation from the state level, but of course this is local board policy, so you all have the option of making changes to language, and so that would be a local board conversation for you all to have.
And based on the material reconsideration form listed, it has an option for do you currently reside in the area, and also do you have a student who attends? So I think the or is what was intended originally. It's from the way I interpret it.
From that form, is that what you're?
Correct.
Okay, that's just what I wanted some clarification for me.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any motions?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we give first reading approval of policy IJ, instructional resources and materials. First reading approval of policy IJL, library media center materials, selection and adoption. First reading approval of reconsideration of library media center materials form. And first reading approval of policy Ihbea, instructional services for our English language learners as presented by the administration.
I have a motion by Ms. Burgess that we give first reading approval of policy IJ, instructional resources and material, policy IJL, library/media center material selection and adoption, reconsideration of library media center materials form, and Ihbea, instructional services for English language learners. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Carey. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor raise your right hand or say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Wright.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we adjourn.
I have a motion on the floor by Ms. Burgess that we adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Derrick. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor raise your right hand or say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned.